Hello and welcome to How to Film Weddings. My name is John Bunn and it's a brand new week. And that means we have a brand new episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. It's been quite a few weeks. Last week we put out a How to Film Weddings mission podcast, kind of what we stand for, who we stand for. And if you haven't checked that out, be sure to do that. Also, we just have a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of great interviews, a lot of great episodes coming out in the next few months. Also, Nick and I are heading to Kansas City with the team in a couple of weeks to re-record the How to Film Weddings Complete Wedding Videography course, the business section, the shooting, the editing, our signature course. So if you've already joined that course, you're going to get a brand new updated version of that here before the end of the year. So that's super great. And we're just updating it. We're getting the team together. We're all excited. So in the next few weeks, we're going to be just finalizing the new scripts for our course and just updating things. So if there's things that you want to see in the course, please shoot us a DM to @HowToFilmWeddings on Instagram. Whether you've joined the course already or you're like, what the heck are you talking about? Let us know what you want to know about in the course so we make sure that we're hitting it. But we have entirely new concept and placement of all the education to make it even easier for you to build that six-figure wedding video business. So I also, today, it's a big day. We interviewed Megan Edgemond from Salt Rock Studios. She's based in LA. We had a great conversation. She started her business in the middle of the pandemic, like right in the middle of it. And now she's charging upwards of $7,500 plus for her weddings. And she is going and being part of luxury weddings already, just a couple of years into her business. We talk about just how she's used her branding, how she's gotten in the room, how she's used marketing, and just had like a clear path. And so it's a really great conversation. Before I head over to the conversation, though, I did want to mention also howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. A lot of you have been using it. Hundreds of you have actually been hitting that link every month. And what it is just a link on our website, howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. And we have 4 or 5 vetted wedding outsourcing houses, outsourcing companies for you to check out, because I know that some of you are getting backlogged, or you know that next year you're going to have a huge backlog. A great way to get out of that is to have somebody on your team helping you edit your films. And if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of spam bots out there. There's a lot of people trying to get into your inbox, your email inbox, saying, I'll edit your wedding films for you. And that can get annoying to try to vet those people. And so what Nick and I and the team have done is we've gone through and we have personally vetted these outsourcing companies and can put our stamp of approval that they're going to take care of you and they're going to give you an excellent product. So if you're in the need of outsourcing or even considering it, be sure to check out howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. Okay, enough with that. Let's head into this week's episode with Megan from Salt Rock Studios. Are you in Los Angeles proper, or are you in like another city?
Yeah. So I live in Brentwood. It's like on the border of Santa Monica. And so it's on the west side, but I don't really go downtown.
My brother lived in Pasadena area for like 12 years. So I've shot probably 40 or 50 weddings in Southern California.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's beautiful here. I love it here. And the light's always great. And the community here is amazing.
Unfair.
Like the creative community is insane. Even outside the wedding world, just having people who do creative stuff all the time.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, we'll just use this in the podcast because it's good. So without further ado, Megan from Salt Rock is here. Welcome to the show, Megan. How are you doing today? Why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know who in the heck you are.
So I think you just said this, but I'm Megan and I own Salt Rock Studios, which is a wedding filmmaking company in Southern California. I've actually only been out here for like a year and a half now. I'm originally from the East Coast, but I relocated my business here last year and have just been running with it ever since.
So East Coast, where at in the East Coast? Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from right outside of DC in Virginia. Okay. Had a place called Reston. And then I went to school in South Carolina. So grew up, born and raised on the East Coast my whole life.
And in 2021 is when you moved out to California?
2022. Last February.
So what made you say, like, what made you say like, I'm doing it, I'm moving out? Like, what caused you to say, yes, I want to do this?
So I actually had the idea in college to move out here. I had some friends who were in the creative industry. They were shooting for some pretty big artists. They moved out to LA. Their life looked insane, and just I have always craved a creative community and just to be surrounded by people who do creative stuff, whether that's photography, videography, just anything in this world. I think it's so cool to just surround yourself with people who you can collaborate with. And so I always had it on my mind to move out here. And then once I graduated college, that was kind of the time frame that I wanted to move here, but I graduated during 2020. So my plan kind of got shut down for a little bit. I stayed on the East Coast, and then a door kind of opened for me to move out here, and I just fell into this amazing community out here, and just everything kind of fell into place, which has been so cool to see.
That's awesome. I've been seeing you a lot, just online in different groups, and you're kind of showing up everywhere. And I was like, I have to get Megan on the podcast. So I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Oh my
Would
gosh,
love
of
to
course.
know more though of your brand, why you started filming weddings. Like, let's start there. Like, what made you decide to start, and then how did that get going?
Yeah, so I, from a young age, have always had a camera in my hands. Like I don't remember, but I have videos of myself being like 5 or 6, making home videos, filming my whole family doing everything, filming myself, just kind of documenting everything from a young age. I remember going to concerts when I was younger, and I would watch the whole concert through the lens of my mom's camera. And she used to get so like not mad, but just she was like, all right, like watch the concert. You're watching it through the camera. And come full circle, in college, I actually got started shooting in the music industry and concerts. And so that was like a crazy full circle moment to just kind of have that as just this way that I came back to shooting. So that's kind of how I picked up a camera originally. And when I was in college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I think I switched my major like 3 times. I was exercise science at one point and journalism, and I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't even know that you could do something with a camera, to be honest. I just thought that that was something that you did as a hobby. And so I just felt really lost during college. And then I started to meet people who were in this creative world, and I figured out that I could major in visual communications at my college. I went to the University of South Carolina, and they had an amazing journalism school. And so I got really lucky. I went into the visual communications program, learned a little bit more about my camera and just the creative worlds, and then started shooting concerts. I got more into that. And then, so the end goal with my college career, I guess, was to go on tour with someone in the music industry. Unfortunately, I guess not unfortunately, because it led me to where I am now, but I graduated during 2020. And so everything was shut down. The concert music industry was shut down. I thought I had this plan of what I was going to do, and it just kind of fell apart as I was graduating college, which is when you're entering the world. And kind of when we entered, it was shutting down. So I was kind of lost, and I didn't know what to do. And I had a friend in one of my classes, and this is at the point when everything was kind of online. And he was like, you should sign up for this. It was one of those wedding advertising pages. And I didn't have any weddings under my belt at all. But I was just like, okay, sure. Like I have nothing else to lose. Locked myself into like a 12-month contract, I think, paying for a college student. I was paying a lot, just like $400 a month for this advertising page that and I didn't have any weddings. So I think I shot like a couple that I was friends with, and I just posted it and was hoping that something was going to happen. And I just remember being so stressed because I was like, I am paying for this website. The world is shutting down. Like, I don't have experience with this. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. And so a few weeks, I think it was actually a few months went by, and I just nothing was happening because everything was shut down. And then I remember so vividly sitting like at this desk setup I had made for myself to finish out my college classes at my house at home in Virginia. And I booked my first wedding. I think it was for like $1,200. And I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I didn't know that was the most money I had ever made doing something with video. And I think that was a moment when I was like, oh, this could actually turn into something bigger. Granted, it was during COVID. It was like a backyard wedding. I still was like getting experience with filming, but I was just kind of, I guess, thrown into it. And
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking like, man, what a time to start 2020, or what a time to be trying to
yeah,
graduate. And then all of a sudden, whoops, we're not going back to class. We're going to go ahead and be finishing college from our own rooms or wherever like that. And then signing up for whatever page it was. Bold move, but I guess it kind of paid off.
yeah, oh my
But
gosh.
so you do this backyard wedding, you get paid $1,200. What happens after that? Did you like the experience of the first, like when you filmed it, did you immediately fall in love? Did you decide, like, what kind of happened after that booking? How did more bookings start coming along from that point?
So I booked that wedding, I shot it, and I guess I didn't really have an understanding of the wedding industry prior to COVID because I wasn't in it prior to COVID. So my only understanding was like what it was like during the world being shut down. So I shot this wedding. I think from this, I booked like a few more smaller weddings in South Carolina. And because of that, I ended up moving to Charleston, which is like a big city for weddings. And so I was able to build out my business a little bit while I was there. And when I was there, I think I did my first styled shoot ever, which is when I got to work with this amazing model. I worked with her a few times when I lived there, and I think we shot on the beach for like 30 minutes. And I remember putting together this video. It was my first, I want to say, like high fashion feeling video I've ever done. And I remember I stayed up like all night editing it, and I was so excited because I was like, this, I love this, and this is what I see myself doing. And so I remember posting it on my business page the next day, and it was like completely different than anything I've ever posted, just because I feel like it really elevated my style. And I still remember thinking like this is the moment that my style kind of switched. And I think that's when I really started to fall in love with the more editorial side of this industry and just filmmaking and shooting these beautiful dresses and just really getting creative with it. And so I think that's when I kind of fell in love with the art of filmmaking.
Yeah, so you're in Charleston, you're getting experience, you're taking risks, you're filming weddings that you know you don't want to film anymore probably. You're seeing like the fashion, you're seeing all these different things. And then I'm sure that you start looking online maybe, or like trying to connect with other creatives. You know, you said you were craving a creative community. What did
Mm-hmm.
you do from Charleston? Like, how did you start like figuring out the wedding video world? Like, did you start finding other wedding filmmakers for inspiration? Like, what was that story? Who inspired you? What'd you do from there? You knew that you had this new fashion style, or that you wanted, but like, what were the next steps after that?
Mm-hmm. I think I'm trying to think who. So White and Reverie, and
Mm-hmm.
like they, I think, are the reason why I started shooting weddings. I used to watch them on my big screen TV. I think when I saw that like level of filmmaking existed, I was like, I want to do this. And Blink Films is another one. Catherine, I watched her stuff all the time, and just falling in love with kind of this art mixed with, because I didn't really know that kind of wedding film existed. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know this whole world existed. And so as I started diving deeper into this industry, I started finding filmmakers that I could look up to. And I had a good friend who is a photographer in this industry, and she has been in it for a long time. And she recommended that I reach out to a few photographers at the Hybrid Co conference and
Mm-hmm.
see if I could do some BTS for them, because those are very like stylistic shoots that are set up and just at beautiful places. And so I reached out to a few of them and was able to get my foot in the door there. And it was the one I went to was in Park City. And so that was the first time too, again, just like when I was shooting with this model, that I was able to shoot these like beautiful setups. And that to me is where I kind of found the inspiration, and just the nature and the beautiful dresses and just the music too, to me is so important. And so having a scene that kind of emulates this high fashion feeling music was so exciting to me. And so I think after that Hybrid Co conference happened, my Instagram and my portfolio just was elevated a little bit. And through a lot of that footage, I was able to book some higher end events. And I actually booked a wedding with one of the planners who planned a style shoot at that conference. And that definitely elevated my portfolio a lot and just showed me that, you know, I paid out of my own pocket to fly to Park City from the East Coast and I paid to stay there. And I showed up to shoot this conference, to shoot BTS for these photographers, but then was able to use that footage for my own brand and kind of elevate my portfolio to get my portfolio to where I wanted it to be. So I think that,
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that was definitely like a transformative moment and trip for me.
And like, I mean, I hear this story, I get the chance to interview lots of people about their journey, and the ones that seem to be moving fast, and I want to talk about like kind of what your business looks like today here in a second, but the ones that seem to be moving fast are the ones that get connected with a community. They also take risks that are calculated to help elevate their branding, and they put a high focus on their brand in general. And, you know, looking through just even your Instagram or your website, or, you know, you can tell that you now know exactly the direction like that you want to be heading in, the kinds of weddings you want to be shooting. And so we fast forward to moving to LA. You've gotten the wedding. You were still on the East Coast when you got the wedding for the planner in Park City. You do those, a couple there. Does that lead to more with that planner? Does that lead to more referrals, or does that lead to just you understanding more who you want to work with? Like, how did that whole story play out after you made that risky investment and paid your own way? Would you say that paid off for you? Would you say, if someone's out there listening, like wondering if they should put in some of that work that's maybe not paid today, what would your advice be for all that?
I definitely think it's worth investing in yourself. I think that in order to get where you want to go, you have to bring your work up to where you want it to be now, because no one's going to book you for work that you don't have. So if you want to book these higher end weddings, you need to go out and invest in yourself. And whether that's a style shoot with someone else or setting up your own shoot. Like when I lived in Charleston, I would literally bring my friends who was a couple, just my friends who were a couple, and we would go around Charleston and shoot, because I didn't have bookings in Charleston. And so I did that. And because of those films and little videos I made, I started to book in Charleston. And same thing with Park City. I flew out to Park City. And even though the wedding I booked with the planner wasn't in Park City, the connection I made there and the work I have there could still work for me in the future. But that booked me a wedding on the East Coast. And also through this planner, I've made other connections and just built a friendship. And just, it's so important to take risks with yourself, because you'll never get where you want to be if you don't do that. Sorry, what was the question again?
I asked you like 12. I asked you like 12 questions in one, so I think you answered a couple of them. I feel like when I'm nervous,
I just ramble. Oh my gosh.
You're good. I think I asked 12 questions on accident there. So let me, like, you answered a portion of them. I think I got excited with my question and then asked two more and then asked two more and then was like, here, you go. But basically, basically what I want people to hear is that, like, you know, you have taken calculated risks. You know who you're, like, you decided to elevate your brand. I love what you said about, like, if you want to be shooting these kinds of weddings, you have to have those on your portfolio. So go make it happen, basically, and like figure out how to do that with whatever works for you. You've made these connections. I'm guessing at that point, maybe you've raised your prices a little bit more. Tell me a little bit of the story of, like, maybe the price change that you've had since your $1,200 first wedding until even now, or like up to the booking with this planner. Like, what does that story look like?
Yeah. So I feel like I just kept pushing it up. I didn't really have a strategy. I felt like as I built out this more elevated portfolio, I just kept pushing my prices up just a little bit every time. And just seeing, you know, if I bump them up a little bit, am I still able to book in this market? If I bump them up a little bit more, like, am I still able to book? And I remember with the planner that I booked in Park City, that was my highest paying wedding to that day. And I just remember feeling, and it still was less than I'm starting at now, but I think that in that moment, I don't know, it just didn't feel real. Because I was like, oh, I didn't know that I was good enough to book this kind of wedding. And so it's just, I think it's a lot of getting over that imposter syndrome of thinking, you're not good enough, or you don't have enough like quality or qualifications to do this. But I think that that's what comes with putting yourself out there and making those investments in yourself and getting that experience, because it just gives you what you need to go out and shoot these events. So and I think a lot of that too, I've learned a lot this year. Sorry, this is kind of going on another tangent, but I'll try to bring it back to where we started. But this year I have second shot a ton. And through that, I think it's been with some people who are shooting the kind of events that I want to shoot, because I know I have a lot of work that I have from these shoots and my previous weddings that I can use to market. But I think getting the experience in the luxury industry just kind of changed my mindset and the style of shots that I was going to get and just the way that I act at these events. And so I think that kind of gave me the full circle picture of what I wanted my brand to represent, kind of in a scenario where I was going to book a luxury wedding. And so I think it's getting that experience too, and not being afraid to learn from other people, because a lot of times, maybe people out there don't want a second shoot because they think it means that they're not good enough to be a lead shooter, but that's not true. I think that there's so much value in learning from someone on site, because we don't really get like a teacher in this. Like in school, you go to a class, and we don't really have a class where you go in person. Well, I guess there's workshops, so maybe that's not the right thing to say.
But replicating a real
it's
it's hard to replicate.
You're having to invest in just all these different areas. So to go to a real wedding and get on-site experience with someone who's where you want to be, I think that I found so much value in that this year, and it has helped me elevate the way that I am when I shoot my own weddings and the kinds of shots that I get at my own weddings and just how I do things. And I think that changed a lot of the trajectory, I guess, of where I'm taking my brand. Because if you have the work, that's fine. But it's like, when you actually book one of these events, are you going to know how to show up prepared? Because I don't think I would, honestly, if I showed up to a super high-end event, even if I have shot a style shoot that kind of emulates that doesn't mean I have the on-site experience to get there. And so I think that just has taught me so much this year and kind of changed my mindset on that.
I really like that. And, if you started your business in what year? 2021, you said? 2020?
So I think it was mid 2020. I shot second shot my first time that year. Well, actually this is kind of going too much off topic, but I was thrown into my first wedding. The first wedding I booked on the website wasn't actually my first wedding. I booked a wedding for $200, and this girl kind of just handed it to me. She was like, "I can't make it anymore, so can you shoot this?" I had no experience, no audio experience. It was on the beach, so I was like, "Here's the mic." I was trying to figure it out, but that was just another tangent. Sorry, I keep going off topic.
There's no topic to be off of. You're doing great. Here's what I think I want people to hear is that, you started your business. To me, 2020 was 5 seconds ago. The fact that we started our podcast in 2018, and it feels like we just started it. I've been in business since 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. So I'm starting in and knowing where you're at today in this short amount of time. I just want people to see that okay, there are some tangible steps to take to go from just starting, even in the middle of a pandemic, to getting to a spot where you're knocking on the door of luxury market weddings. And I'm in a group with you, E3 is what it's called. And there's a bunch of luxury vendors in the group, and there's a separate thread for just the filmmaker side of it. And there's lots of conversation, but you're getting yourself in the room with people that have been doing this for a really long time and getting considered for weddings that are pretty big time out of, a couple of years into it. And so not even knowing what you were doing a few years ago to now being, I know that you just flew out with Emma to go to a big thing in Spain for 4 days or something, or big parties. And you're getting in the room, you're in LA, you're doing all this stuff. What does the business look like today? A couple of years into your business, where do you start at with what you're charging? What kinds of weddings are you booking right now? And let's just start there, and then I've got a couple more questions.
Okay. So to reiterate, so I'm starting out with where my business is at now from where I started.
What is your starting price for a package today? And what kinds of weddings are you aiming at in booking though? Like, are you aiming for, like, are you getting all these big luxury weddings? Do you feel like you're kind of right on the edge of it? Do you feel like, where do you feel like you're sitting there? And then just kind of, you said you're charging more now to start with than you did for that one wedding. What does a typical booking look like for you? Like,
So right now I'm starting at 7,500 for weddings. I think that I am trying to build up to that luxury level. I think right now I'm still kind of trying to build my relationships with planners, which is a huge way to kind of get into that. And you really want to find people who are going to want to grow with you, because those same people who are ambitious, who want to get into that market, like you're able to grow together, because you're not just going to start in luxury. It's like you have to kind of build up to that and get that experience to get to that level. So I would say right now my priority is just building out those relationships. I would say the weddings I am booking are kind of getting into that like lower luxury market, and that's the kind of goal, I guess, for 20. It's crazy that next year is 2024. For 2024 is to start to book those like entry level luxury, I would say. Is that the right term? Entry level luxury weddings, to kind of start building out that portfolio and keep getting more experience. And I think keep leaning into these amazing second shooting opportunities that I am getting, because then I know when the moment does come that I book my own extravagant 4-day event that I am prepared, and I know the equipment to bring, and I know the kind of team to bring, because I wouldn't know, like if you had thrown me into this ring when I started 2 years ago, I didn't even know how to hire a second shooter. And now I'm at the point where I know how to hire a team and how to what's the word? Lost my train of thought, but just how to kind of divvy out all the tasks on wedding day. And I wouldn't know any of that had I not had the experience shooting these events prior. So I think that's just when I'm leaning into that a lot, because I think that just kind of is something that isn't talked about as much, just the importance of getting that real world experience in these kind of events. Because I think I've grown so much this year in that area because of the experience that I've had.
And like, I love that you're already charging $7,500. That's so cool. Like, I mean, I think I was in my 8th year of business whenever I charged my first $7,500 wedding. Like, people are valuing video so much more, but like, if someone's out there listening and they're like, well, I want to get to that. I want to, like, if you're hearing what Megan is saying, she has made the investment into knowing who she wants to serve and then getting in the room with the right people so that she can make those connections. And she's willing to humble herself to say, maybe I'm not ready to be a lead shooter at this 4-day engagement party in Spain, but if I can get in the room with Emma as she's shooting that, I'm going to learn so much. And you're focused on learning and growing and getting that experience, all the while you're making connections and relationships and following people on the gram and all these different things. And so all of these things are adding up to, oh my goodness, I'm already starting at $7,500 in my 2nd or 3rd year of business, which is amazing. Congrats to you, because that's really great. And so I know, like, watching through and talking to hundreds of filmmakers at this point, that it's like, if you just keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing, you'll be in that 5-figure range in no time. I mean, you're going to be booking $10,000, $15,000 packages. And like, I know Emma is pushing 20K on some of her packages and different things like that. And you know, you're becoming good friends with her. And it's like, oh, if she's booked on a day, who's she going to refer to do the wedding? She's probably going to refer you, which is great. You've made a lot of connection with her, and you've made a lot of, you have a great relationship. And that's the thing that I think people don't realize, is how important those relationships are.
Yeah, I do think that just building out those relationships are so important. And just doing things outside of just talking about work too, I think can help build those relationships even more. It's like we are in like a unique situation where we don't really have designated coworkers. Like, we have like co-vendors that we see at events, and it's fun when you get to work with the same people, but we don't get to go into an office every day and see like 20, 30, 40 plus other people every day and then go hang out and go to dinner after. Like, we a lot of the times are by ourselves editing or just a little bit more isolated. So I think just to have that community where you don't have to talk about work things. You can just go and get dinner or go to the beach or go and hang out and do things to foster those relationships outside of just the wedding world, because then it becomes more than just a vendor friend. It's like an actual friend. And so I think that it's so important to just foster those relationships and find people who are really determined and passionate and eager to grow, because I think you really do become like the people you surround yourself with. So if you're fine where you're at, then like surround yourself with people who are comfortable staying where they are. But if you really want to grow, like find people who are hungry to grow, because then you guys are just going to push each other when you need to and get there even faster.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot with people, like even with Nick and me and Blake, like surrounding ourselves with each other and like pushing each other to make better films or to have better, it's like, dude, you should raise your prices, or like go to this conference or be a part of this thing, your second shoot with me here. And there's that like relationship building where we've all made each other so much better. And I know that like surrounding yourself with the right people is huge if you're wanting to level up in your business. I want to talk about Instagram for a second, because you've had social media your whole life, I'm guessing, right? I mean, social media didn't come out after you were born. You said you were graduating college in 2022. You've had so like one thing on a selfish note that I'm trying to, like, people that have grown up with only social media, like I grew up before phones had social media on them, and like I'm always trying to figure it out. If you were talking to people right now about like your social media strategy, your social media plan, like what it means to your business, what is the most important social media that you're focusing on? And then do you have a specific like rule sheet that you're like, I only do these kinds of things, or I'm only trying to post these, or like, yeah, that's two questions in one. So I would assume that Instagram is very important. Instagram, anything else that you're really focusing your attention on, or is Instagram really the main thing?
So I think Instagram right now is kind of where I'm prioritizing focusing on posting. I have a TikTok for my business. I haven't utilized it probably as much as some other people, just because I think the kind of clients that I'm booking aren't going to be scrolling on TikTok. And so I feel like on Instagram, if I'm really engaging with planners posts that I want to work with, so I'm always commenting on people's posts and resharing and liking and making sure to engage with the people who I maybe am not connected with now, but would love to be connected with in the future. So that's kind of one side of it. I'm always trying to stay active on there and just making sure people are seeing my name pop up on their notifications, just to kind of keep me on their minds. Some people who don't even follow me back, but I just keep engaging, and maybe one day if they're looking for a video or come across my page, they'll remember that, oh, like this girl has commented on my stuff, or she really supports my page. So that is one side of it. I think for my own page, for my Salt Rock Studios page, I definitely think I had a season where I was a little bit slower at posting, just because I was focusing more on kind of the education side and like learning about this industry. But more recently, I've been really trying to even go back and re-edit some of my old footage and put it to use again, because it was some of those shoots that I felt really did elevate my portfolio. I'm working on a reel as well of just kind of everything I've shot over the past few years. So that's been in the works. I kind of see my Instagram as a mini portfolio. So I want people to be instantly drawn in when they see it. So I try to keep the first 9 squares just like exactly. So whether that's pinning 3 at the top, so there's constantly work at the top that I want people to see, or just making sure as soon as people look at my page that they kind of have an understanding of my brand, because people's attention spans are so short now. They truly are. And because of that, I think that's why I try to use my social media more to make connections and build out those connections than really rely on, if this video gets, because I've had a video go viral on Instagram Reels and I didn't get any inquiries from it. So even though those numbers feel really good to hit, I think for me, it's become more about, making sure my Instagram, even if the video doesn't get great engagement, if people look at my page and it really looks aesthetically pleasing and just looks like the kind of work that they would want to hire, doesn't matter if it has 200 views. If they see something they like, then they're going to book me. So I think it's focusing less for me on the like kind of viral content strategy and more on the connection strategy with other people that I'm following.
I like that. And I think that's the way it's going. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just trying to get, that feel good hit of dopamine from a viral video or lots of followers and stuff like that. And using it as a tool to connect with people, I think is really important, especially if you're wanting to bump up into luxury market. And like when people see you, they're going to click over to your page and in like 2 seconds or 2/10 of a second, going to judge whether or not they want to follow you or want more, and it has to be like, oh, this is really good. And so as soon as I came across you, I went over straight to your Instagram page. I'm like, oh, she's like doing lots of good stuff. Like flip through a few of the pinned videos and like, this is really good. She's got a really good brand. She knows where she's heading. Like, who is this? And I wanted, it's like, I was curious. I needed more. I wanted, who is this? Why do I not know who this person is or whatever?
Thank you.
And
well, that's the goal. So I appreciate you saying all of that, but just goes to show that exactly what you felt is kind of what I'm working towards. And I think what would be really beneficial to a lot of people wanting to get in the market that they are striving to.
And I think a lot of it too, being in that same luxury group as you. And I think that's probably where I first saw you, like, who is this? And went over and it's like, oh, and you were in this, like you've gotten yourself in the same room with people that you want to be in the same room with. And so, whether that's at that workshop you went to, and you're garnering connections wherever you can. And moving out to LA, I'm sure has helped you a ton in just like that creative community and getting to know more people. What are you doing now? Is it just Instagram, or how active are you in networking and brand awareness, getting in front of people? Like, what do you, when you wake up, on Monday morning, it's like, I want to grow my brand. Like, what are you thinking about? How are you getting in front of people? How are you growing right now?
One of the strategies, because I've now had to do this in 2 cities. When I moved to Charleston, I had no connections, nothing. And then again, I left that and came to the completely opposite coast and had to redo everything here. And so I think the biggest thing that has helped me is just reaching out to people, reaching out to planners, reaching out to other videographers, reaching out to photographers, and just kind of getting to know people in the industry. Setting up style shoots, whether that's attending a workshop who's doing a shoot, setting up your own shoot in the destination or location that you're at. Because I think you want people to know that, if I was just posting all my old stuff from Charleston and I lived in California, no one's going to know I'm in California. So even if I have it in my bio, like Los Angeles videographer, like if all my work's still on the East Coast, how does that show people that I'm on the West Coast? So I think just doing some style shoots, maybe at venues that you want to work at, reaching out to planners, reaching out to other vendors in your area has helped me a lot. And I'm trying to think of what else that I did. Getting in those groups. I think connecting with people who are in these groups, whether that's making your own accountability group, I think is something that has been really cool for me too.
So like practically speaking, are you at lots of events? Are you going to lots of events still? Are you trying to be physically in the room? Are you a lot of online events? Are you, what kinds of things are you doing to like just get people to know that you exist?
I had attended one of the E3 events that was in Santa Barbara. That was my first time going to something like that. I actually just got my first ticket to Engage. It's not till next December, so I have a little bit over a year, but I think that I'm super excited for that. And I think where my brand will be a year from now, I'll be at a place where I'm ready to like dive into that, because that truly is like, I think one of the top of the top kind of event that you can go to. And so it's really just, using the next year to kind of prepare and really get to know this industry, like the luxury portion of the industry, and go into that ready to learn and grow and all of that. So I think just, again, this comes back to investing in yourself, because those things do cost money, whether it's Engage or another workshop or another kind of networking event. I think going in person is great. You want people to see your face. We're so glued to our phones nowadays. I think it's great to meet people in person. I've DM'd some people on Instagram and asked them to get coffee. I've offered to take people out to lunch, just really get to know everyone on a more personal level than just DMing them that one day, like, I hope to work together. Like, no, like, hey, we should get lunch and let me get to know you. And I care about you as a person, not just as someone who I can get something from. Because I think people can tell when you're trying to just make a connection to hopefully use them for what they have, versus when you actually care and you want to build a relationship, because you really want to get to know these people. Are they someone that your brand aligns with? Are they someone that they align with what you're doing? Because it's a two-sided coin, if that's the right term. But I think like, are you guys going to connect? And if you connect on that level, like, are you going to connect personally? Because things are more than just business sometimes. And you want to build those relationships over time and not just a kind of snap connection.
That's so good. Yeah. And the fact that you know that kind of stuff already this early, just you're going to go so far so fast. I'm excited to follow up with you in 12 months and see what you're doing. But like, it's so true. Like you can just tell. And I think this a lot, you know, since our podcast has kind of grown a lot, like people will send a DM like real fast, like that episode was great. I would love to be on an episode talking about this. And here's what I'd like to talk about. And it's like, who are you? Why? Like, it's just too much too soon, you know, and just in general, like people want to work with people they like and their friends and people that they can connect with. And so
exactly,
the best way to do that's being in the room somehow. And it's like, I'm sure that you made connections when you were second shooting with Emma, and it's not like a weird thing. It's like, oh yeah, I know who that is. I've connected with them. I follow them now. They might remember me from that event, but like you're doing all these things all at the same time. You're investing into your skill. You're investing into your network. You're investing into your brand, and like all these things, your location, you're reaching out to people and you're saying, hey, let's go grab lunch. Let's do these things. Let's get to know each other. And I think what you said about like, if they align with your brand, I just think so many times people are like, if you'll pay me money or if you'll help me make money, I'll do whatever it is to help you, like to get that money or whatever. And like, you can just,
and that's just not the right way to go about things. I think it too, being in LA has taught me a lot about the way that people try to use people for their connections, because that is very prevalent here. And I've like, you can just tell. And so I think it's so important to just be genuine and honest with yourself about who you are. And if the person that, you know, you want to work with aligns with you, then that will happen naturally. You won't have to force it.
No, I think that's huge. And kind of wrapping up a little bit for today, just kind of looking forward for you. You know, you said by this time next year, I will hopefully be at this. I know that a lot of people, like when they're heading places, they don't just accidentally show up there. They don't accidentally win the Super Bowl. They don't accidentally get to their destination without a map. If you were looking at like from now until the end of 24, what things are on your radar of, I'm working on, I want to get better at these things, and these things will help me get to that next level. This is where I'm lacking right now, and I know it, and I need to work on these things. Or does anything come to mind to you of like, I'm getting better at this. I need to do this. If I want to get to where I'm going, what my roadmap says this.
I think one thing that I really want to focus on is staying consistent with communication with people that I would like to work with, and people that I have worked in the past that I would want to work with again. And so again, this comes back to maybe planning something outside of just the wedding stuff to really get to know them, and connecting with additional, I guess, I don't like to use the word connecting, because then it just sounds like, I don't know, like it sounds, yeah. So I think just really investing in the relationships with people that I'm working on building, I think that that's huge. I think that in the luxury industry, it truly is all about who you know. And you could be the most amazing filmmaker in the whole world, but if you're not pushing to get your name out there, no one's ever going to know who you are, unfortunately. So I think that, you know, I've seen it in my own work. Like, I've worked so hard on videos and I try to push them out, and I get discouraged when nothing comes from it. But again, it's not about the numbers. It's not about the numbers you see on Instagram. It's just about who's seeing your work. And so just really pushing to build out those relationships, I think, is something that's really important to me. My biggest goal right now is to book a wedding in Italy. So for me, that looks like connecting or just building out those relationships with people who are working in Italy and who are planning in Italy, and, you know, just following along to kind of stay up to date with what's happening over there. And that is like top of my list right now, like dream destination. I think that it's just when that happens, like it will feel like a dream. Like I'm trying to manifest it, but that is so at the top of my list right now is getting to shoot a wedding in Lake Como in Italy. Hopefully, even if I don't shoot it next year, even just getting the inquiry and getting the booking, I would love for that to happen within the next year.
So that's such a fun thing. I love hearing people's goals. It gets me excited. So, okay, let's say someone gives you an opportunity to shoot in Italy. I like this mindset question. If they said, "Hey, we're getting married in Lake Como. We can cover your flights and we can give you like 1,500 euros, but you get free reign to do whatever you want with the video." Would you consider that, or would you say no to that, or what would your thought process be on something like that?
Immediately yes, I would take that. I mean, I think especially at a point where I am 3-ish years into my business, I mean, to have that opportunity to go to Italy, like absolutely I would take that. I think to have that in my portfolio as well would just, again, going back to even the same practices that I used when I was first starting my business, like going to the places and the events that I want to shoot. And I got that in my portfolio and I was able to book something that resembled exactly what we shot in Park City. And so going to Italy and having that on my Instagram, if anyone is booking a wedding in Italy and sees my page and sees that I've been to Lake Como, they're not going to know that I didn't get paid or got paid like $1,500. They're not going to know that. They're just going to see the work that I did. And
I'm happy that was the answer.
I would hope that I would, yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Absolutely go.
Like, playing off of that, let's say you did get that. Like someone booked you 1,500 euros plus travel. So like you're basically going to break even at best. What would you what would your plan of attack be at that point to get the most out of that entire trip? Like what would your mind immediately go to of like setting up extra shoots, or who would you bring with you, or like how would you make the most of that opportunity?
I definitely would, depending on the scale of the wedding, actually no matter what, I think I would invest in bringing a second shooter. I think that would probably come out of my own pocket, but again, no one would ever know that in the future. And if it meant that I was able to crush the wedding and get the drone footage of them walking down the aisle when I was focusing more on the A and B cams, then I would definitely invest in that and definitely try to connect with some people who are over there already, maybe stay for a few extra days, plan my own style shoot, whether that's buying a dress and finding a model couple or working with a planner who's out there, just really taking full advantage of the opportunity to make sure that I was getting as much content as I could out there, setting up time lapses, filming drone footage extra days, like just really capturing everything, because I think that is stuff too that you could just post. Say you got an epic drone clip. If it wasn't on the wedding day, you can still post it as a reel. That's still going to be on your Instagram. Going to a venue that you want to shoot at, shooting drone footage there, like you can still post that stuff as reels and no one knows that you didn't actually shoot a wedding there. And so I think no matter where you're going, just take full advantage of every opportunity that you have and use it to grow your portfolio, because then that'll just help you book even bigger events and get you closer to your goals.
I hope you're listening out there in the internet, because this is really good stuff. And I think that this mindset that a lot of people get in, like I've seen it for years, where it's like, oh, you shouldn't give away a free wedding, or you shouldn't do that. Like but I'm just sitting here thinking like I would almost, if I'm you, pay to go to one of those because of what it could do for you. And I know that you would take advantage of every single second that you were there, getting as much footage of you and you filming in Italy and you with, you know, Lake Como behind you. Like your brain,
oh my gosh,
a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people don't think, how can I make the most out of this? Because it would feel fake to them, or something that like, oh, well, I didn't film a wedding at that venue, so why would I fly my drone? And I like what you said earlier about like you have to put your name out there in the society that we live in today. You have to keep putting yourself in front of people saying, this is what I do. This is where I do it. This is how I do it. And you can let people determine whether or not you had a paid second shooter or if you paid for them to be there, but the opportunity itself is much more important than the dollar in your bank account for that specific shoot, so long as that it leads to more and more of what you want to do. I did a wedding in Italy in 2019 and I made a few $1,000s. It was in Positano and it like blew my mind. Like I just was like, I don't care if I make money, I'm going. And I filmed all kinds of extra drone footage, all kinds of extra everything, and took advantage of that. And that one wedding, even though I only made a few $1,000s, has led to hundreds of thousands of dollars of destination bookings. And I'm excited for you to go to Italy. I want you to send me a postcard when you get there.
Oh my gosh, I will. I think just as long as what you're doing is getting you closer to your goal, go for it. Yeah. I think that's like a rule. My like life, one of my life mottos is like, we get spread so thin nowadays. Like our attention span is constantly pulled in so many directions. And so in order to really hone in and focus on things, which focus was my word of the year this year. But really to really focus is to think like, is this bringing me closer to my goals? And review your goals. And if it's bringing you closer, like invest in it, pay to do it for cheaper. I don't know, just like get there and do it. But if it's not bringing you closer to your goals, learn how to say no. And that will open up more doors to say yes to things you actually want to pursue.
Just wisdom dropping on the podcast from Megan. Okay, we're running out of time, but anything else that you want to add before we wrap things up? Anything that you wanted to make sure that you said that I just want to give you the chance if there was a note or a point you wanted to make. If not, it's totally fine.
Understand that it's so worth investing in yourself. And even if it's scary to spend the money now, like you're going to see it return tenfold later. And I really encourage anyone listening to put themselves out there, reach out to the person that you're scared to reach out to. Like just keep putting your name out there because you never know what doors could open. You never know what relationships you could foster through all of this, and just keep saying yes to opportunities that are going to get you closer to your goals.
I love it. I'm very impressed by you, young in your business, just newly doing this for a few years, already taking names and doing great things. If people want to connect with you that are listening here, what's the best way for them to maybe see your work and connect with you?
So my Instagram is saltrock.studios. And then my website, if you want to check it out, is www.saltrock-studios.com. Definitely more active on my Instagram, but my website will have more of my full films. And yeah, just feel free to DM me if you have any questions or just want to chat, because I love just meeting people in this industry. I think it's so cool.
I'm very thankful that you took the time. Thanks for being on. We'll definitely have you back. If you ever need anything, please know
this is so fun. Oh my gosh. For anyone too, I used to listen to this podcast when I started shooting weddings. And so this is such a crazy full circle moment to now be sitting here and chatting with you. And I'm just so appreciative that you guys had me on. So cool.
So cool to meet you. Excited to meet in real life one day. If you ever need anything from us, just let us know. Thank you so much, Megan. All right. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for taking the time to be on today. I'm so excited to just see your journey continue. Thank you so much, listeners, for being out there, being part of this community. And as a reminder, if you haven't checked out howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing, it is your one-stop shop for where to go if you're looking for outsourcing. That's howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. Lastly, as we get going in recording the new version of our complete wedding videography course, if there's anything that you want to see in it, please shoot us a message at howtofilmweddings and tell us what you would like to see, where you'd like us to go deeper, because as we build out our signature course to re-record it, to give that inside of the complete wedding videography course, we want to make sure we're hitting all the things that you want us to hit. So be sure to check us out at howtofilmweddings.com. Check out all the things that are going on. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you.